Is that better? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Tell me, girls. We're going to start this over because I don't think you could hear me at all at first. Just tell me if it's working now. I think it looks like it is on my end. Um, but tell me in the chat. And oh, there I am. Okay, perfect. Well, let's just start that over. So sorry for that. Welcome everybody. So happy to see you today. Happy Tuesday. Happy summer. It's summer here. I don't know if it's summer where you are, but it's summer here. We just got back actually from a trip to Minnesota. We have a cabin up there that flooded. So we just got back from a trip there. We did some fun stuff. Tom did lots of fishing. He caught a giant bass and rode on the boat and tubed and all of that. So fun. Thank you, Adelaide. It's actually a dress that I rented from Newly. So if you haven't checked them out, it's kind of fun. You can rent different things. So I have used them off and on for the last 6 months, I would say, and it's kind of fun. Okay, we're going to talk about self-sabotage. So, we're going to talk about the surprising reasons that we sabotage what we really want in life, and it kind of keeps us stuck. And these reasons all have something in common, and we'll talk about that sort of commonality. Um so I want you to think about what your sabotage of choice is. So for some of us, it's food, it might be drink, it might be shopping, it might be social media scrolling, it might be just procrastinating things that you really want to do. Anything that basically goes against what you really ultimately want in your life. And a lot of times, what happens to us is what we really want often takes work, takes time, takes some loving discipline and dedication. And it's just so much easier to do those other things. It's literally never been easier to be distracted and to get sort of our instant gratification than it is now. And I think more than ever, we need to become aware of ways that we're doing this because this, you guys, is not benign. You may think to yourself, and I have thought this to myself in different seasons of my life, like, okay, give me a minute. I'm in a season. And that is totally fine. We do want to have a lot of compassion for ourselves when we're going through something or we're in a season, but it's just so easy for us to perpetuate a cycle that's not serving us. And when I look at what the long term ramifications of that are, they can be fairly devastating. So, not seeing where we're staying stuck, not seeing the long term ramifications of that, as in, what are you not creating in your life that you could be creating because you're staying stuck in this self sabotage? How are you damaging your health? I think of this so often when it comes to health because I mean, how many of us did put on a few pounds in the last couple of years, right? And I think about how easy it is to just get stuck in bad habits with our health, with our eating, with the way we move or don't move. And what I find, y'all, is that you can do that for a while. And then when you get to be in your 40s and 50s, you can have sometimes catastrophic things happen where it's like, oh, I wish I had known this before. I wish I had known that this was going to pile up and, take parts of my health away. And so I think it's something that's really important. It's not just your health, but it's just the quality of everything, the quality of the way you experience your days, the quality of your relationships. Like, how are you holding back your relationships by these kind of things? And I think that can be really important. And how are you not sharing the gifts that you have by just procrastinating things that you want to do in the world, contributions that you want to make in the world. And this is an area where I think it's so important for us to ask ourselves, where do we feel stuck? So pause for a second and ask yourself, where do I feel stuck? Where am I stuck in negative patterns, negative emotions, negative behaviors that aren't serving me? And what are the ramifications of that? because I think a lot of us genuinely do want to move forward. We just don't know how. We sort of feel this happens a lot when you're in a transition of life. You feel this sort of lagging or nagging sense of like, I'm not sure what I want to do right now, lack of purpose. Maybe you're in a transition that has you feeling a little lost. Maybe we talked about this last week, but maybe your relationships are kind of stagnant. You've let things fester, you haven't tended to them, you've sort of you've been stuck in negative patterns there. Maybe it's procrastination where you never seem to make progress on things that feel really important to you. I hear this in my program all the time, y'all, where we have to sort of confess to ourselves, like, yeah, I've had this dream of writing a book. I have had this dream of starting a business. I've had this dream of starting a nonprofit. I've had this dream of whatever your dream is. And we just keep procrastinating the things that really matter to us. I think also sometimes, again, with our health, we kind of get to an age, we look in the mirror, we go, oh, or we don't have the energy that we want to have in order to live our lives the way we want to. We're stuck in cycles that feel impossible to break. Raise your hand. Say yes in the comments if you can identify with that. It feels literally like you're living against your own will, like you're doing things against your own will, and you feel like it just feels impossible to stop. Maybe you're in a cycle of the way you eat or the way you drink or the way you scroll, and you have every good intention for, well, this is going to be the month, or this is going to be the week, or this is going to be the year that I turn it around. And then you find yourself a few weeks later or a few months later, and you're back in the same cycles. I think that is so true for so many of us. And I think that I know why it's so hard or it's so easy to get stuck in those cycles. And we're going to talk about that today and over the next couple of weeks, leading into, by the way, Freedom Week. So if you have not been to one of our workshops, or if you've never attended Freedom Week, or even if you attended Freedom Week last year, it's back. It's better than ever. Brand new content. I'm so excited about this. Last year, we had so many of our students and clients get amazing breakthroughs. So, this is going to be the summer of breakthrough, because I know a lot of times, how easy is it, y'all, to just let the summer go by? It's way easier, I feel like, in summer to go, it doesn't matter. I'll address that in the fall. I'll get back on track in a few weeks. And by then, though, think about where you are. Maybe you're in a lot worse health. Maybe you're 10 pounds heavier. Maybe, you've had some kind of issues in your relationship. Like, it doesn't get better if you ignore it, which is what it's so easy to do. And so in Freedom Week, we are going to really help you move past that. I'll tell you at the end how you can sign up for that. The link is actually in the description of the video as well. But all of these things, this sort of feeling stuck in our health, feeling stuck with our weight, feeling stuck in this cycle of bad habits, it brings to us this sort of low level dissatisfaction with just so many things in our lives, where we just kind of get mad at ourselves, right? We're like, sometimes even worse than that, sometimes a little disgusted with ourselves. And I think it leads to living a life that feels like it doesn't inspire you because you're stuck in these cycles. And this is called self-sabotage. And I love helping women kick it to the curb. It's so much simpler than we make it. And I'm going to teach you a simple framework for how to work through it. But it's any of the beliefs and behaviors that prevent us from achieving our goals, that keep us stuck in this negative self-talk. You're never going to change. You keep trying stuff and you don't follow through. Like, all of that negative self-talk going on in your head, that's also part of it. It keeps us stuck. It keeps us hiding. It keeps us questioning and doubting and then comparing ourselves to others. And then that kind of leads to feeling really judgmental about other people, because we're so, frustrated with ourselves that it makes us kind of frustrated with everybody. And then we end up living sort of this small version of ourselves, this small life where we can just hide out and keep the cycle going. And it really is time to figure out, why are we doing this? And let's do something about it. Who would agree here that it's time to do something about it? And I want to ask you this question. What if we could kick this self-sabotage to the curb. What if we could turn all of the stuff we just talked about into your best summer yet? Because this is what I'm working on in my own life. And with intention, can you create a summer full of radiant health, a summer full of love, a summer full of meaning and purpose and rest and joy and vitality? Do you even think it's possible? I promise you it is. So today we're going to sort of dive into the why behind self-sabotage to see all the sneaky ways that it's showing up. I promise you there's one thing always behind it that, and it could be different versions of this thing, but there's one thing always behind it. Anybody want to guess what the one thing is that's always behind self-sabotage? Tell me in the chat if you have any ideas of the one thing that all self-sabotage has in common. I'm going to tell you, by the way. But the one thing is always an emotion. So here's what I want you to think about. Sometimes it is boredom. And the boredom will kind of drive us to, oh, well, let me just get a quick hit of dopamine so that my brain wakes up and feels alive with food. Let me do that with social media. Let me get that with a drink. Let me get that. We're always seeking for that quick little instant gratification, pick me up. That could come from boredom. That could come from anxiety and restlessness. I noticed this in myself last night. How many of you have had this happen before where you had your dinner, you had your healthy dinner? That's what I did. And about 2 hours later, 2 or 3 hours later, I'm getting ready for bed and I just feel so restless. And I find myself in the kitchen like, oh, what could I snack on? How can I solve this restlessness with snacking? Well, first of all, snacking does not solve restlessness. But it's one of the things that restlessness, that anxiety that can keep us stuck in these cycles. The dissatisfaction that we feel sometimes with our lives, that we feel like we're not really living into our purpose, we're not giving our gifts, and we get this low-level dissatisfaction. And that can lead to self-sabotage, where we just sort of keep doing a pattern of things that we know is not serving us. It's not giving us the life we want. And so that can do it. So much of the time, fear of success, fear of failure. And it's just so much easier to go, I don't want to feel that emotion of being afraid. I don't want to face that fear. So what can I do that gives me a quick pick me up or makes me feel a little bit better just for a little while? And then that will often lead us into self-sabotage. So think about, how am I doing with fear? Maybe fear of rejection. Maybe you know that you should be putting some content out there. You know that you should be going live on a platform and sharing your ideas, but you don't do it because fear of rejection. What are people going to think? And so then it gets easier to do something that just puts you in this pattern of living that you don't love. I promise you, there aren't enough Netflix scrolls or chocolate chip cookies to give you that fulfilling sense of purpose that truly giving your gifts, following your calling, living the life that you were called to live will do. And so sometimes it comes from that, but there's always an emotion behind it, and it's so sneaky. And what we have to learn to do is we have to learn to create some space for ourselves between that emotion that causes us to react in a certain way and deciding on purpose, who do I want to be? How do I want to respond to this restlessness? Do I want to pack on weight this summer by always responding to the restlessness with food? Do I want to keep procrastinating my real dreams by solving this boredom with social media scrolling? Is that really what I want down deep for my life? And so you have to ask yourself, what is this self-sabotage keeping me from? Is it keeping you from unleashing your amazing gifts on the world? Is it keeping you from the pure magic of living a life that really lights your soul on fire? What is it keeping you from? Is it keeping you from beautiful, nourishing relationships? And learning to recognize the emotion that precedes it can be so powerful. I want you to think about it with your sort of favorite version of self sabotage? What is the emotion that often precedes it? For me, I find that a lot of mine comes in the form of, like, even when I was preparing today for my work today. So I had emails to write, I had podcasts to do right now, I have a teaching to do at 2 o'clock. There were a lot of things that I needed to get done. And I start to feel kind of anxious, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get all my work done. And when I get that way, I want to solve that anxiousness with food. I find, like, oh, I'm just mindlessly snacking. And if I can take a deep breath and pause and decide, like, oh, I'm feeling a little restless, I'm feeling a little anxious, I have the thought, like, oh, I might not be able to get all my work done today, or it's going to be hard to get all my work done. And if I can catch myself in that area, it goes a long way. That awareness of what often comes before the self sabotage for you. So I just want, for this podcast, I just want you to think of what is the one emotion, because it's probably a similar emotion. Maybe it's you had a really stressful day at work. I know a lot of people who years ago, not so many people struggle with this anymore. But when I used to practice medicine and I was helping a lot of people quit smoking, their smoking triggers were related to having a really stressful day at work. And then they get home and they feel like, oh, I just want to relax. And the quickest way to do that was like, oh, if I could just, have this nicotine. For some of us, it's like, if I could just have this food, if I could just have this alcohol, if I could just have this scrolling session, then I'll relax and feel better. And that is really a lie of your brain, because your brain wants to get to that quicker. But what happens with self-sabotage is it has a net negative effect. So you might feel a little bit better in the moment, but in the long run, what you're exchanging for that are your dreams, your true peace, your true health, your true calling and giftings. You're exchanging something so incredible for that little bit of relief. And so ask yourself, what is the emotion for you right before the self sabotage happens that you can start becoming aware of? I promise you, this is not easy, but simple to dismantle. Now, we are going to be talking all about this in our Freedom Week workshop, which is June 19th, 20th, and 21st. And seriously, you guys, for $7, we're going to spend 3 days together, and you will leave a different person than you came. You will leave so hopeful for the future. You will leave with so much inspiration for what do you want to create for yourself this summer, for the health and vitality that you want to create for yourself, for the joy and the love that you want to create for yourself. This is going to be such a powerful time to spend together. We're going to turn your self sabotage into self mastery. Now, when I say self mastery, a lot of you think, oh, this is going to be terrible because she's going to teach us all about, like, self discipline. The thing of it is, though, we have gotten discipline so wrong. We think of it, and how we do it is we try to will ourselves to do something different. And we're kind of mean to ourselves, and we say things to ourselves like, you're never going to do this. You're so terrible. You just keep falling into the same trap. We're kind of mean to ourselves, and you're never going to make lasting change by being mean to yourself. So when I say turn your self sabotage into self mastery, I mean that in the most loving, nourishing way. I mean, how can we do that in a way that doesn't feel like arming yourself, that doesn't feel like, uh, willpower, where you talk to yourself in a mean way? No, this is going to be totally different way of approaching it than I bet you have heard before. And we are going to transform this self-sabotage into purpose, passion, and freedom, so that seriously you can create the life you want, the summer you want. You don't have to wait until, well, let me get through this and then, I'll work on it in the fall. Don't do that. You keep putting off your dreams. When you do that, you keep putting off living a full, meaningful, purposeful life that you love right now. The place where it gets better is the place where you finally decide to stop doing these cycles that aren't serving you and find a better way. And I promise you, there is a better way. It will literally be the best $7 you spend all year. So if you haven't signed up yet, go to ediewadsworthcoaching.com/freedom. Share this with your friends. If you maybe you're already in my coaching program, you're already in life mentoring school, which means you will get this workshop for free. But invite your friends because this one is going to be a doozy. We're going to spend 3 days together. We're going to talk about this vicious cycle in detail. We're going to talk about how to actually get breakthrough. Like, what does it actually take to get breakthrough? When you're stuck in these cycles of self sabotage, the real solution, not what we have tried before and what we think the solution is. And then we are going to literally begin rewiring our brain because so much of this we have relegated to our subconscious mind. If you've ever found yourself just, eating a snack at the pantry without, you feel like, I don't even remember deciding to do this, that's because you've relegated it to yourself, to your unconscious mind. And you're doing it, basically, you are doing it against your will. We're going to teach you how to recognize that and rewire that so that you can actually do the things you want to do, so that you can create the life you want, so that you can live out your dreams. So I can't wait to see you there. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. So much love. See you soon. Bye bye.